Welcome to another episode of TFL Talking Trucks. And this is a pretty big show because we have a brand new truck coming out. I'm Andrei Smirnov with the Fast Lane Truck. And on this episode, we're talking about the 2021 Ford Ranger TREMOR. And this is an off-road package of a truck. And I have the guy who knows everything about it. This is Chad Callender from Ford Ranger Marketing. Chad, did I get your name right?
Yep, Chad Callender. You got it, Andre.
All right. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for being here on our podcast show. Thank you for joining TFL Talking Trucks podcast. If you love pickup trucks or big full-size SUVs, if you love trailering, towing, and going off-road, this is the right place to be. Together, we can make this podcast the most popular ever. Please introduce this new truck. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, no, and thanks for having me, Andre. I'm really excited to be with you guys today talking about the all-new TREMOR for 21 model year for Ranger. It's really, it's been a project we've been working on to really help increase the off-road capability of the Ranger. As you know, Ranger as of itself is a pretty competent, capable vehicle off-road, especially with our FX4 package, which gives some nice content. But with TREMOR, we took it up a notch. So we included not only our train management system, which helps traverse and adjust vehicle control features for different trains. We not only have our trail control, our bash plates, our skid plates, the off-road clusters, things like that. But with TREMOR, we added a whole new suite of off-road enhancements, and I can go through those individually. But also importantly, what we did is we still made this a truck. It still has significant towing and payload. We did not want to sacrifice the capability of the truck or even the on-road performance of the truck, because while people do go off-road with their trucks, they also drive them as their daily drivers. And so we wanted to make sure TREMOR fulfilled both of those needs. It was an off-road performing animal, and it also maintained its on-road ride and comfort as well as towing and payload capabilities.
So this TREMOR package for the Ranger, is it fair to say this will be the most off-road capable Ranger?
That is correct. Yeah, it is. When you consider the additional suspension improvements we've added, the ground clearance, the increase in travel, the updates to the wheels, it's a pretty significant improvement in off-road capability for us.
Okay, and that's interesting. You mentioned kind of the trucky capability of it too.
Yeah.
But the payload and towing, you guys have at Ford, you guys have another TREMOR in your portfolio, which is the Super Duty, right?
That's correct. Yep.
And that's a really off-road capable heavy-duty truck that also comes with several different options and diesel engines and et cetera, gas engines. And it's similar. Are you applying kind of the same philosophy here, so to speak?
Yeah, more or less. We're the concept of TREMOR, between Super Duty and Ranger is similar in the sense that it's improved the off-road capability, but still keep the core truck components. For example, our base Ranger can tow 7,500 pounds. The TREMOR can tow 7,500 pounds. The base or the payload on the TREMOR is 1,430 pounds of payload. That is significantly higher than anything we see in the segment, amongst our competitors for payload capability for their off-road derivatives. So that same philosophy applies with what we do with Super Duty. I don't have the exact payload and towing numbers on that, but the concept of bringing a truly competent off-road vehicle coupled with true competence and capabilities in its day-to-day being a truck routine is something. It's a core principle we stuck to with TREMOR, and specifically with the Ranger TREMOR.
All right. Well, let's hit some of the details, right? Let's kind of go down the line, and let's start with the suspension, right? Off-road trucks are all about their suspension, their springs and their shocks. So
yes.
So what are you guys doing there?
So we've added a Fox 2.0 suspension system. That Fox system was heavily tuned by our engineers to perform very well with Ranger. The rear dampeners have piggyback reservoirs external reservoir valves, to help with some of the extreme events and some of the retention of temperature control. We've also increased the overall ride height of Ranger. It's up nearly an inch. I think it's about 20 millimeters of ride height increase. We've also increased the travel. Most specifically, the jounce travel is significantly improved. It's up about 20 millimeters in the front and over 30 in the back, which really helps maintain those moments, when you do go into off-road events and the road gets rough and difficult, and you hit that massive compression. It gives more room for that travel, so you're not bottoming out or hitting hard against your bump stops. In addition, we've got hydraulic rebound stops on the return. So there's a pretty significant improvement there. We've implemented multi-leaf springs in the rear. That's different than the base Ranger, which has parabolic. That gave us a little bit more real estate to be able to allow for those increases of travel. And we've also adjusted our springs. So the suspension is really the meat and the potatoes of the package, and it's a pretty significant improvement. We also did things with like our anti-roll stability bar. We allowed to be able to handle some of these off-road occurrences, this rough terrain, but it's also smooth on road. So you're not noticing, you're driving, it doesn't feel like you're driving a truck that was completely engineered just for an off-road environment when you are in your on-road situations. So the suspension was a pretty sharp upgrade for us. We all, as you know, on the FX4 package, we had a decent modified system, but this going with the rear reservoirs and going with the Fox shocks really helped us take it up to another level.
Yeah, so if you compare it, in my mind, I'm trying to compare it to the FX4, obviously, right? So FX4 had kind of FX4 branded shocks, right? Special tuning, but now you're getting a little bit more clearance. Your ground clearance comes up, your suspension system is different, and you have kind of a more high-end, so to speak, shock technology, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll give a much more confident, much more comfortable, much better to handle the bumps and bruises due to that increased hardware, and quite frankly software, right? And a lot of the tuning and structuring of the shocks and suspension system to work with the vehicle at its peak level.
Okay, let's touch on tires, because that's very important, right? So on the FX4, you had, I believe, is it ATM tires, correct?
It's the hand-cooked Dynapro.
Dynapros.
Yep. So what we're doing with TREMOR is we're putting in Continental General Grabbers, specifically the ATX tire. It's an all-terrain. ATX is the term commercially, but it's also an LT, light truck tire. So it's a very durable, very aggressive, very, very, very strong traction in an off-road environment. But also it doesn't create the large amounts of road noise that you might expect from kind of beefy, knobby, aggressive tires. So we felt it was a good balance, maintaining a lot of the off-road capabilities, but also maintaining some on-road presence and not being cumbersome in that way. I don't know if you're familiar with the Grabber ATX, but it's right up there in all the off-road scoring and charting as one of the top off-road tires.
I've driven on the Grabber tire, but it was a different manufacturer, different. Okay. I think I've tested them on a Nissan truck before, but I don't think that's the same thing, right? I mean, different. Is that true? I mean, the tire that's on the truck is usually specifically kind of calibrated for the truck.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, our engineers go through some pretty grave efforts to just make sure that everything's optimized. But yeah, that it's a pretty aggressive, pretty impressive looking, and pretty capable off-road tire, and it's a 32-inch. And it is one of the tires we're offering on one of our Bronco lines as well. So we'll be sharing that within the plant and putting it both on TREMOR and one of our Bronco derivatives.
Okay, and it's a taller tire than the FX4, right? Or the
standard. A little bit bigger than the base tire.
Okay, so that's good. I mean, obviously, we'll.
Little wider track as well, outboard on the vehicle. Which, by the way, I don't. Also in the vehicle, we do include a slightly extended wheel lip molding
Okay.
to help with that offset a little bit. It's about a ½ inch out of the off of the base vehicle, ½ inch wider.
And is it basically based within the wheel? Where is that width coming from? Is that how the wheel is defined?
Yeah, it's all coming out. Both the tire come out about a ½ inch and the wheel lip molding come out about a ½ inch on each side. So about an extra inch or so of width totally on the vehicle,
Well,
all at the wheels.
Let's touch on the appearance of it, right? You mentioned the appearance of the tires. The wheels have a unique appearance, right? So tell me about kind of the overall appearance for the Tremor.
Yeah, so we wanted to go. Obviously we love the look of the Ranger, the base vehicle by itself, but we wanted to kind of make it a little bit more aggressive, a little better. Obviously, with some of the increases in ground clearance, it sits up a little higher. It's got a little bit more aggressive look that way. The wheels are really impressive. And I think we might have shared with you in the Dropbox some photos, but it's a magnetic color. So you see in a magnetic color theme go across the vehicle, both the bumper of the vehicle, the grille of the vehicle, the wheel lip moldings themselves, the wheels, they're all this dark gray. We call it magnetic color. And it's a really cool looking wheel. And it kind of brings the whole package together with some nice contrast. And I see you've got some in the background on the picture on your screen. Yeah. That white truck right there, we will offer Tremor in both a Lariat, which is our high series, and an XLT, which is our mid series, which is a unique offering strategy compared to some of what our competitors do, which typically take their off-road vehicle and put it at the top of the lineup. We wanted to bring this capability in a package that can be offered across series. So that white truck you're looking at is actually the XLT version, or a mid-series truck. Okay. And then the red truck is the Lariat. So the main difference is it's going to have all the same capabilities, the same suspension system, the same wheels, the same everything. However, the Lariat's going to have leather, and it's going to have some additional technologies, and it's going to have its premium audio system and all that stuff. Where the XLT version is going to be the slightly less interior content, bells and whistles. But back to the look, if you notice on that white truck, there's an optional graphics package. That optional graphics package, which goes across the hood scoop, down the side of the truck, and then even across the tailgate in the back, between the brake lights. Is a really, really cool look. It helps really make the Tremor jump off the page, and it's optional. So if some people don't like it, they don't have to get it. But we think it kind of helps bring that aggressive, bold look to Tremor. And it's really kind of interesting. When I first saw that picture, and it's hard to tell from looking at it from afar, but when I first looked at it, when we were first designing it, I thought it was just going to be kind of a black and a red stripe going down the side. But if you zoom in real close, or if you're actually standing next to the truck, the black is actually almost like a carbon-looking scalloping. So it kind of has some texture to it. It looks really neat. But bottom line, I think when you look at the appearance, we definitely wanted an aggressive vehicle with big, knobby, aggressive tires, a really cool-looking wheel, some real symmetrical design in terms of the color, and we wanted it to be off the ground a little bit more.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it does look pretty cool. I want to get behind the wheel, get this truck on the road and on the trail.
We will make that happen, Andre. I guarantee it.
And get it on the trail, and actually test it out. And I have to actually pause a little bit and actually ask you, I wouldn't be doing my job this truck looks really aggressive. Is this, are you foreshadowing something? Is it, because you're offering the Raptor version across in other markets around the world. Is this foreshadowing something else? Is Raptor coming to US?
Yeah, so as you know, we don't really talk about future product offerings. Today is really about Tremor, and we're really proud of what Tremor is and what it's doing. I do realize that we sell a Ranger in other countries, or I'm sorry, a Raptor Ranger in other countries around the world. We don't have any plans today to announce anything about a Raptor in the U.S. for Ranger. We do have a Raptor, obviously, on F-150, and it's an aggressive, bold vehicle, and we're proud of that as well. But I think in terms of Ranger, really what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a very strong off-road capable vehicle, very competitive in the segment with what some of the other offerings are, and we believe TREMOR delivers that, not only giving that off-road capability, but also some of that off-road performance where we think we have a pretty significant competitive advantage.
That's really cool. You mentioned some of the competition. Were you targeting a particular competitor or a set of competitors? What were you kind of considering as competition for this?
Yeah, I mean, all the mid-size pickup trucks have pretty much a flagship off-road offering in their lineup, right? Whether it's the TRD Pro, the Gladiator, Rubicon or Mojave, and then also ZR2/Bison and Chevy. So all those vehicles, we look at as competitive sets to what the TREMOR is, and I think that we've built something that's going to compete very, very well against those folks. It's obviously there's strong competition in the segment, and we're always trying to keep on our toes and increase the offering that we have. Ranger's been a big sales success for us. It's really done very, very well. We're second in the segment right now. But we never want to sit back on our laurels. We know that what the competition's offering, we know what we're bringing to the table, and we think it's a pretty compelling option.
Very cool. So let's talk about pricing a little bit.
Sure.
What is this TREMOR package going to cost?
So the MSRP for TREMOR will be $4,290, and that'll be offered both, as I mentioned earlier, on the XLT, specifically the XLT 301 package, also offered on the Lariat 501 package. TREMOR, it'll only be offered in a crew cab, which involves the shorter bed, the 5-foot bed crew cab, and it'll and then, like I said, $4,290 is the MSRP price, on top of those particular, base pricing.
Okay, and that's interesting. So I wanted to compare it to the FX4 a little bit.
Sure.
I believe FX4 package also requires a little bit more premium, so to speak, setting within the XL, XLT, and Lariat, right?
Yeah, so with FX4, you can pretty much get FX4 anywhere in the lineup. The only place where there are some limitations are on the base, on the XL. In order to get it on an XL, you have to get the STX package. So a slight, there's some equipment requirements, but you can get FX4 across the lineup, across all the XLTs, all the Lariats, and a couple asterisk caveats on XL.
And the FX4, as far as I saw on your website, $1,295, I believe.
That's correct. That's correct. And with that, Andre, you get just the base FX4. You get trail control, which is kind of like the off-road cruise control where you set it and don't touch the feet controls and just steer. You get train management, which gives you the different drive modes, mud, ruts, snow, what have you. You get skid plates, you get the bash plate up front, you get an off-road tire. In this case, it's the Hankook. In the case of FX4, it's the Hankook Dynapro, and you get an off-road tune suspension. For the difference in price, when you look at, well, that's great, but one's $1,300, one's $4,300. For that $3,000 difference, what do you get? Well, so what you're getting with TREMOR, in addition to those functions, is you now get, the general grabber, ATX tire, you get the magnetic 17-inch, pretty aggressive looking wheel. You still get all the bash plates and skid plates. You get rear tow hooks, which I don't think we had talked about yet, which help rear recovery hooks on both sides of the back of the bumper. You get the
suspension,
the Fox 2.0 dampeners, the multi-leaf, the spring adjustments, all that stuff. In the interior, And then you get some interesting things like some accent stuff. We talked about colors, right? You get the black grille with some red little nostril flares on it. In the interior vehicle, you get a 6 switch aux console that sits on the center of the IP. That allows you to turn on and power various, off-road items you might have with you. For example, a compressor or some off-road lighting or whatever that you might have, which really helps if you want to kind of convert this or bring this into a real like overlanding kind of style, or you just want to add a bunch of off-road lights. You get new interior, some other interior items. You get Miko suede insert seats. They're actually slightly different between the XLT and the Lariat version. The Lariat version has like some additional like tuxedo stripes and stuff, but for the most part, you get a nice interior upgrade in the seating, and then you also get some accents. Some of the accents are blacked out around the IP and the door spheres, so some visual changes as well. And then, as I mentioned, the wheel lip moldings are unique and different. And then another cool thing we haven't talked about yet is the side hoop step. So we got some side steps that are they're hoop style. So they've got little hoops where your foot can go into and step ingress and egress in and out of the vehicle. And they've got a material that's a little gritty, kind of like our spray and bed liner material, to help with grip, especially when you're out in muddy and rough and wet and slippery, snowy conditions. It helps maintain some grip. Very aggressive, cool looking. They don't intrude too much into ride height or any issues with clearance. And they make for a nice, not only a nice functionality, but also a cool, aggressive look on the truck.
Okay, so just to recap, I mean, you mentioned, so from the FX4 step to the TREMOR step, you're getting, suspension, wheels, tires, you're getting interior appointments, exterior appointments, unique look, unique function, in fact, right? You mentioned the tow hooks in the back, side steps. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I can see where that, how that price is actually stepping up.
Yeah. It's a pretty well equipped vehicle, and then when you factor in the total cost of like a package on an XL versus, let's say, a Lariat, you're going to end up in the neighborhood if you get the TREMOR package on an XLT. I meant to say XLT, not XL. Yeah. If you get it on an XLT, you're basically looking at getting a TREMOR out the door for about 40,000 MSRP, and then it's approximately 45 or ish on the Lariat. So that's kind of where your steps are. And we think that's a pretty compelling proposition, in terms of, what kind of equipment do you want and can you get it in that range? It makes for a pretty attractive price point.
Yeah, and you're still getting, like you said, the trail control system and by the way, the engine and transmission stay the same. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, you're still getting the 2.3 liter EcoBoost, which delivers 270 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, pretty decent fuel economy. The fuel economy numbers haven't been finalized on TREMOR specifically yet, but we anticipate they'll be pretty solid, maybe a couple miles per gallon less than the current four-wheel drive Ranger. I
gotcha. And still the 10-speed automatic is there. So the powertrain hasn't changed. The powertrain, you're keeping that.
That's correct. Yeah, it's the same powertrain, and I personally think the powertrain in the Ranger is one of the biggest competitive advantages that we have in the segment. I think it's one of the main, why would I buy a Ranger over another product? That combination of capability, power, and fuel economy is really unmatched in the segment. A lot of times you have to choose. Do I want like a lot of power, torque, and horsepower, or do I want fuel economy? And I think Ranger delivers both of those fairly well, relative to what else that you can get in the segment. So continuing that forward is a great thing. And I think you may have realized that we just recently did some Ford Performance packages, which include some Ford Performance content. There is actually an engine tune available through Ford Performance. as well, which can be added. Almost all of those Ford Performance options can be added to the Tremor if you so choose. Things like the performance tuning, for example.
Yeah, so the performance tune. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the performance catalog a little bit because you mentioned the auxiliary switches, right?
Yes.
So my mind kept going already, on those items. But so performance catalog, if people don't know, gives you an increase in power, right? So basically, from your Ford Performance catalog, basically.
Yeah. We offer a performance tune modification through Ford Performance, through our Ford Performance arm at Ford, where you can have a dealer or do a home install on it, do an install yourself, where you can increase the horsepower and torque of the vehicle. I don't recall the numbers off the top of my head. I want to say it was something around 40 horsepower and 60 torque improvement, somewhere in that neighborhood. Is achievable through that Ford Performance modification. And like I said, that could be added to any Ranger, including the Tremor.
And that's pretty significant. That's a significant increase.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So let's keep going on the performance catalog because you mentioned there's auxiliary switches. So is there a possibility to, purchasing a winch, or you said air compressor or some other items maybe?
Yeah. So the nice thing is that all of those switches will allow you to power whatever you want, right? Whether you buy it from Ford or you buy it on your own and install it, it just enables the opportunity to put, to utilize a lot of this stuff that most off-roaders or overlanders use in their day-to-day. So yeah, I mean, we sell rigid light bars and we sell sport bars with lighting. We sell little attachment rigid cubes that you can put on the sides of your hood, where you could attach a winch, although this isn't a winch capable bumper on Tremor. But if you did have a winch or you were going to incorporate it into a bumper, you could use the aux switches to power that, or you could just use it to power stuff you have in your bed, like an air compressor, or maybe you have some sort of longer term refrigeration system if you're going to be, overlanding for a couple weeks or what have you, or just tailgating at the game and you want to power your television. So there's lots of different options, and having the switches and be able to flip them on or off and just sort of have a media power draw makes it a pretty easy turnkey vehicle for those occasions.
Yeah, it's basically kind of preparing the vehicle for the accessories instead of, hardwiring it yourself, going somewhere.
You got it. Exactly
into the
right.
truck. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's the most important question is, when is it going to be available?
So this will be available early next year. Like when I say early, I mean early.
Okay.
So we're just going through, developing prototypes and getting those, final testing and getting the plant ready for production. But all of our 21, this will launch with our 21 model year, which will be very, very early, next year.
Very cool. And the rest of the 21 Ranger lineup, is it mostly remaining the same, or can you give me a hint about what's happening for 21?
Yeah, there's a couple other things. Tremor is obviously the big news. We have some new colors coming in and out. We are working on on another lower cost package for the XL customer. I think we'll probably have more information for you in about a week on that.
Okay.
So we're trying to take care of the whole lineup, right? We recognize that Ranger's a very competent vehicle. It's doing really well, but we wanted to have this true off-road flagship. But we also don't want to forget that a lot of our sales are at the mid and lower ends of the segment. So we offer that flagship in multiple spots in our lineup, in the mid and high, and then we're coming out with a low end offering that's not so much an off-road package, but a really attractive package that'll be coming up. And we should have information in about a week on that one for you. So stay tuned.
All righty. Well, I think we touched on all of the elements of this truck. I mean, so you basically kind of maintaining your powertrain, but adding the off-road capability. we talked about performance, obviously additions from the catalog, right? That can be there. And I actually also like that you're trying to balance, the payload and the towing and the truck capability as well.
Yeah, and that was really important. That was a design principle. I mean, it is awesome to go off-road with your vehicle. It is fun. I mean, you've done it. I've done it. It's great to have a vehicle that can do that. But you also, that's not the only thing you use your truck for. And we at Ford are real big proponents. You've heard Built Ford Tough, and those are important words to us, not just because it's a tagline, but it's really about making the capability of the vehicle usable in everyday scenarios. So when you look at like our drive modes from the terrain management system, we pick modes that are very applicable to everyday use, right? When you look at towing and payload, they're very strong numbers on Ranger. We didn't want to lose that. We didn't want to just make an off-road truck that can only see the trails, because that's not what people do. People drive it. They use it as their daily driver. They take it on the trails on the weekend. They take it to work during the week. They tow their boats or their campers or whatever they're towing. And to shrink those numbers in order, to completely just focus on off-road, we thought was missing the mark of what people have expressed to us and what they want to use their truck for.
Yeah, and I think it's very important because you mentioned overlanding. It's very popular, to actually add a tent or something else to your truck, right? Add extra equipment, extra gear. And then, of course, you need the payload to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
Even if you want to use that truck for kind of adventures, and you have 2-3 people in the truck, I mean, it's always good to have extra reserve right there.
Yeah, 1,430 pounds of payload on TREMOR. So yeah, that hits the mark. I mean, that's a couple 100 pounds more than what you'll see elsewhere in the segment.
Well, very cool. Well, thank you for taking time and actually giving me all of the details, because obviously I cannot touch the truck right now, but I felt like I learned, quite a lot. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, Andre, I appreciate it. Love the hospitality, love the channel. Really excited always to talk to you guys. And we will definitely get you in this vehicle as soon as possible. I promise you that.
All right. Well, thank you, Chad. And
thanks.
Of course, you'll find this podcast anywhere podcasts are distributed, and also on YouTube and our website as well, tfltruck.com.